Welcome to the Unrestricted with Ryan Johnson podcast, where we will dive into the journey of our guests and get their thoughts on success and what it takes to be resilient. Welcome to Season 2 of Unrestricted. Welcome to episode 4 of season 2, Unrestricted. We are joined today by head coach Eric Weissling. He has coached in the Mexican Pro Basketball League, the LMBP, as well as the CIBA Copa, and has a plethora of international experience. He hails from the city of San Antonio, where we record today. Welcome to the show.
Oh, well, welcome everybody, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Excited.
So where does your story begin?
Well, story begins actually. Since a little kid, I've always been a huge basketball fan. It's been my passion since a baby. I think there's a picture my parents have when I'm just, I'm 9 months old and I'm sitting here in a pot with a basketball. So, it's always been part of, who I am.
Yeah.
I think I always had an obsession with that orange round ball, and I still do. Life is it's been a blessing because the game has been able to give me a lot of experiences that have allowed me to really grow as a human being and grow as a coach and as a leader, as an educator. It's allowed me to meet a lot of people, and it's a neat story where it all began, because it's a funny story. I gotta get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
My sister, who at one point was working when I was a freshman in high school. She was working with Congressman Henry Bonilla here in San Antonio. Okay. And she, of course, knew that I'm, trying to make the varsity, and I'm crazy about basketball. So she had asked him to hook me up with some tickets to a Spurs game in one of the box seats. Yeah. And I was blessed to have the opportunity to go and sit in the box seat and be enjoying one of, I wouldn't say my first Spurs game, but it was the first one, in that just that type of atmosphere where you're the man. Yeah, yeah. And I was a young kid and seeing all this buffet of food and everything. Wow. I'm excited. I'm used to being I was the kid that had the binoculars and sitting.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And then the very very top. But it was really neat. I remember it's against the Milwaukee Bucks, and so I happened to be sitting down and talking to an elderly gentleman and talking basketball, just letting it flow, just come out of my mouth as the game's going. And long story short, he happened to be one of the part-time owners of the Spurs.
Wow.
If I remember correctly, Charlie Amato was the name.
Okay.
So, I guess he came out to impress. I said, this 15-year-old knows a lot about basketball. And a couple months later, I'm sitting at home and shows up, watching a basketball game, of course, NBA TV, and shows up on the caller ID San Antonio Spurs. And mom answers, said, "Wow, they're calling you." And I say, "This is a joke."
Right, yeah.
Like, you guys are messing with me.
Yeah.
And it actually happened to be the one of the trainers, I believe, and equipment managers of the Spurs, and asked if I wanted to join him as a ball boy, and come join the organization and work for him. Wow. So it was a neat start. I didn't expect it to happen. Now I'm high school. I had just moved to Bernie, so I was a first year student and didn't know anybody, and still trying to catch on to just meeting people, but at the same time after basketball practice that I'm trying to make the team, rush into a Spurs game, trying to get there in time to be able to go and set up the locker room and help the players out. Wow. And go and rebound for them pregame, and it started that way.
What was that like? Just from an atmosphere perspective, I grew up in Seattle. I was a Sonics homer. And I was definitely in the nosebleeds every time I went.
Did you have a glove on? I know you did. Glove on with the Kemp jersey?
Yeah, I definitely have the Kemp jersey. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Unless you were a Detlef Schrempf fan.
I wasn't. I had a friend that was a diehard Detlef Schrempf, and he was the only person that was a Detlef fan.
That's a name I hadn't thought about in a long time. Love it. Okay.
But when I walked in, even from that far back, it's not TV. It's so different, and being lovers of basketball, it's like some form of heaven. I can't imagine what that would have been like as a kid to be on the court and you're standing. I'm assuming next is this the David Robinson era.
No, it was actually 2004, 2005. So it was right after the Robinson era. It was right after, Steve Kerr had finished. I remember the whole saga with Steven Jackson, and he had headed off to Atlanta. So, no, it was that championship team that won in 2005 against the Detroit Pistons that I got to start off with. So, I started off on an amazing note, being part of that.
Holy cow.
That season, and, being I was still a little kid. I'm still a high school kid, and it's seeing and being around them, you learn so much. So I was a sponge, just soaking it all up, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
From being able to be the first guy to talk to Manu in Spanish, and then there's Fabricio Alberto, and throwing that Spanish out there and making connections there, and then just the different little things that they had me doing, making sure that Bruce Bowen's coffee was in his locker at 4:30 on the dot. 2 sugars, no cream. It's like all these little details that there's like you got to do it, you got to be on point, don't get distracted. Get to work, and it's just the Spurs organization, how they work, how they are. So, it really was neat. And that kind of was the moment when I started really seeing myself as what direction I wanted to go. And that's the coaching side was neat because I think that was what caught the Charlie Amaro, the owner's eyes.
Yeah.
And you're in a game and you're excited about the dunks, and you're excited about the, different highlights that are going on because you're in that atmosphere and the fans are going crazy and you're jumping up and down. I wasn't doing that. I'm weird like that. I was sitting there saying, "Why'd you make that extra pass? Why'd you hit it to the 45? That screen is late. The screen is late." Yeah, I know that was so me at that point, and that might have been what caught his eye. But so it started from there.
Yeah. How did that, if at all, how did it impact you later on as a coach?
Oh, immensely, because it's actually how when I moved over to when I finished college and. My first opportunity to start getting coaching experience, I'm not going to be an equipment manager for the rest of my life. I said, actually the Mexico was the best route. My mom's from Mexico. One of the pro teams from her hometown, which is Jalapa, Veracruz, was one of the most powerful teams in the country. I had really great players. It was the perfect spot for me to try to jump on and start a coaching career. Yeah. Really starting to get some experience and really realize how green I was. That was the biggest thing. So, but once I started going through my years in Mexico, by year 4, year 5, that I'm finally actually getting my first opportunity at 26 to be a head coach.
Wow.
Was applying what I learned with the Spurs in regards to culture. Yeah. The culture's huge. Culture is huge. Is really, I think, the backbone of the difference between teams that win and lose. Sometimes you have somebody that just doesn't fit in the culture. If you keep them along too much, they could be that virus that breaks everything. Sometimes you find a way to adapt somebody to a culture. We'll find out if the Patriots can do it with Antonio Brown.
Yeah, right.
We'll find out. But if you have the ability to do that, then you can really do a lot of neat things. Pop's a perfect example of it. I think he always had a group of guys that bought into what he wants. He still does it year in, year out. Yeah. And he can have a little crazy guy every once in a while. He had a Steven Jackson, he had Dennis Rodman. He can have somebody that might not necessarily fit the bill in regards to the style of people that they have, but he can mold them because he also finds a way to get down to really know who that person is and find a way to adapt them to them. So.
Interesting. Were there challenges at 26 as a head coach? A lot of players. That's the age of a lot of players. Mm-hmm. How did that play into, I guess, your coaching experience? Yeah.
So I worked with the Spurs from 2004 to 2012. So it was about 7 seasons, 7 years. Wow. So I got to be part of that 2007 championship team, and just being around, keep on learning every year, learning. Yeah. And as I learned the responsibilities every year, every year was growing. Before we jump into Mexico, it was really neat because one of the guys that I really admire a lot, and the way he took step by step and he continued to go through his path, without any fear or any nervousness of where it was going to take him, was the current new Charlotte Hornets coach, James Borrego. Yes. Me and James have known each other for years. At that time, he was a video coordinator for the Spurs. Okay. And it was actually a really, really small world. My dad's from New Mexico. Well, he's from the States, and we grew up in New Mexico, and he happened to be James Borrego's 7th grade teacher. Wow! So super small world, and James was real good friends with my sister. So and they were in the same class, and so when I found that out, I forgot what year it was, maybe 2007, I would want to say. I really started to connect with them. I threw the yearbook out there at them, and I said, hey, I look at this little 7th grade, little peach fuzz mustache you got going on here. It was really neat to start connect with them, because then that's when I started really seeing how I can be Latino and actually be one of the first.
Interesting.
And that was something that really kind of motivated me, because at that time there really weren't any Latino coaches.
Right.
I think James and maybe Caleb Canales, which was at that time, I think he was a Portland Trail Blazers interim head coach. He was the other one. But aside from them too, it was really hard to see anybody really doing awesome as a head coach or as an assistant, or in the NBA. So I said, at some point I have to find my way. And I want to come back being, another Latino coach to make it to the NBA.
That's awesome.
So I said, okay, what am I going to do? Let's head to Mexico. I said, let's drop everything. My Spanish was so-so. It wasn't too bad, but it wasn't great. Of course, I was so dominant with English that as soon as I get there, most of these players were from the States anyway. So, English was where it was at. For me, it was easy.
Yeah.
And I started doing the video coordinating, cutting the film, scouting, and, doing the grind work.
Yeah.
Starting with the grind work.
Was that a hard jump, or not necessarily hard, but was there a challenge in that jump? Moving out there, whether it's off the court or on the court or both. We talked before we started here about Brashad Williams, who's over in China now, and we talk almost every day, and he talks about the challenges that people won't see on social media, but I'm just curious if you could speak to your experiences about that transition. Definitely
challenging. I think that when you actually kind of step away and take a risk. I've always said the riskiest thing you can do is not take risks. Once you take that risk, it's going to be up to you whether you can adapt to it or not. A lot of people have that struggle. I've seen it, the last all my years in Mexico, which is I think going on 8 or 9 professional coaching years.
Yeah.
Some guys, because you can have imports, American players come in, they don't adapt. They just don't. They don't open up their mind to it. They don't open up to the experience, and they're easily.
What is that experience?
I don't know, of course. Traditions, culture, the language, the food. I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't adapt to is the change of economy.
Interesting.
The economy is so different. There really isn't a middle class in Mexico, for instance. So
okay.
I know a lot of Latin American countries are in the same boat. They go through financial struggles where you might not be making the money that you think you deserve.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that in this country, for my example, in Mexico, you're making the same money as a lawyer.
Wow.
But you're sitting here thinking, this is crap money. I'm not really, this is not what I really want to be making.
Yeah.
But the experience you're getting is you're creating a resume. You're developing your skills. You're putting in the professional atmosphere where you have to, be a protagonist on the court.
Sure.
You have to be a leader off the court. You have to be a guy that a coach can rely to. Are you going to be his extension on the court, or are you going to be the pain in the ass on the court?
Yeah.
That's up to you, And so some players jump in and adapt to it well, and I think a lot of them do it maybe after their 4th, 5th year being overseas. Now they're starting to understand, and maybe they were in Poland, and then all of a sudden they're in Venezuela, and then they took a job in New Zealand, and then they went to Mexico, and so now they're actually seeing how they have to adapt. It allows them to be able to start being successful.
Yeah.
And then some guys fizzle out really quick.
Yeah.
Because they're used to the American style. ESPN and everything has blown it up to where, you're so used to the luxuries that the States have from a basketball perspective.
Sure.
But you get caught up on it, and then you get surprised when you get to these other countries that those guys can hoop too.
Yeah.
They can definitely hoop. We just saw this.
Yeah, we did
in the World Championship.
Absolutely.
Perfect example of it.
What has been your? We talked a lot about the challenges, but what are the huge upsides or the pros? To international play, to your experiences. What has it done for your resume? What can this do? Speaking on basketball terms, but I think that a lot of this can translate to anybody anywhere. What are the pros to accepting those risks? You said, the biggest risk is not taking a risk, which I love. I love that. I'm probably going to put that on my wall or something. What can you speak to that?
What do you want?
Well,
that's my question.
Yeah,
that's my question to you. Is my question to anybody. If you take the experience and the opportunity you have, everybody has a different route. Everybody gets to where they want to go, or don't get to where they want to go based on the decisions that they make. And if you do that and you take any kind of decision, you got to. First thing I always say is be positive about it. Look at the good side of it. find a way to make that opportunity be a benefit to you.
Sure.
You know, are you wasting your days or are you working? There's perfect example of this is Alfonso McKinney of the Golden State Warriors. He was a player that before Mexico, he played in Luxembourg. So he started in Luxembourg, then he went to Mexico, Ciba Copa, Pacific League. I ended up seeing him, played against him in the championship. He wasn't even the main man on that team.
Wow.
He was the number 3. There was 2 other guys that were a little bit more of the face of the franchise. He was just a guy that kind of stepped in and played his role. And from there, he went and did a tryout for the G League. Paid that $100, makes the G League,
wow.
And now he's playing for the Golden State Warriors.
Wow!
And so he took the experiences that he had and just ran with them, and found a way to be positive about it. You know, they joke. I know there's a couple articles out on him that he was just psyched to have the 20% discount at Buffalo Wild Wings. And yes, there is Buffalo Wild Wings down there. So there's these little things that you can just find a way to be positive and work on your game. Can really just make you and push you to want more. So
sure.
What do you want? That's the question. I've always been very stern about I'm gonna make the NBA as a coach. And that's my goal.
Yeah.
And whatever route it takes me, if all of a sudden I find myself in Iceland, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Find the best out of it. Work on your skills. Study. Prep yourself. One of the first things that I always tell people too is before you can learn to lead, you have to learn to listen. So listen to people. Listen to people around. Maybe having a different perspective from basketball in Mexico, a different culture, can actually teach you some stuff. If you get a job low end league in Spain, for instance, in the EBA or the LEB Plata or whatever, you go with it, because you're probably going to learn some stuff,
right?
Because the world is catching up in the basketball.
Yes, it is.
The realm of skill and ability, and I think the world plays a team game that it's not about you anymore.
Interesting.
I've told players for a long time, you come to another country, you want to showcase, but you're the most dispensable person of that team. The locals, the guys that live there, the guys who are the base of of who is the team.
Yeah, the community.
Is the local players.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to get rid of them. Because there's not a lot of them, so they got to work on them, they got to develop them, and they got to make sure that those guys, they have depth to their teams, and that's a lot where the culture will start too.
Yeah.
You as an American or Dominican, Puerto Rican, whatever, if when you're coming from another country representing a team and you're an import player, it's really quick that you can do 1-2 things and you're out, you're done. And you could be scoring 20 and having 15 rebounds and shooting great percentages, but if you just don't fit the mold of what they're looking for and you're not buying into being a team player, then you're done.
Does that attitude, a person deciding to be a team player versus just one of those team cancers?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any amount of ability where it's just like, that attitude, it takes somebody that's got a great amount of talent but not a great attitude?
Mm-hmm.
Is it fair to say that person is on a thin layer of ice the entire time until they decide to change that attitude?
No doubt. Most teams will have the rights to 2 to 4 spots on their roster for an import player. So, I'm coming from LA and I'm joining a team in Mexico, and I'm excited. They want me to be the protagonist. I have to score the points. I have to be able to do the things that sometimes some of the Mexican players don't have the ability to do to create their own shot. You come here to do that job. But you can't you can put the team on your back in a sense, yes, but you can't have that attitude of you're taking this team to a championship or to a gold. I think that's one of the first things that kill teams is I'll always know when my team is ready when I don't see the Americans shooting on one side pregame or the Americans shooting on one side on the court during practice or pre-practice and the Mexicans on another.
Wow.
When I see these guys kind of working with each other and doing pick and roll jump shooting, I have a Mexican player that actually was born on a ranch with an American player born in the city of New York, or however the mix might be. When I see that kind of connections, then I know I'm getting the team to where I want it to be. Because what's ultimately going to break you or make you is how close the brotherhood is.
Interesting.
You can have all the skill in the world, but everything that you do as a coach to develop your team starts with individual traits. Are you committed to the team? Are you respectful to the organization, to your coach, and to your team players? Are you respectful to yourself, too? That means, do you have discipline? Are you messing around off the court, or are you actually focused on what you got to do? Because it's not about, you're not going to live in Mexico for the rest of your life.
Right.
Where do you want to go? What do you want? That's my question. Are you going to have good work ethic? And everything builds to something else. So I know having somebody that's respectful, and having somebody that has a little character, which you can't just go and be a bunny over there and be soft.
Right.
At the same time, you have to have some character, but the right kind of character. That's going to lead to more than likely you're going to be more committed to the organization, because you feel the respect back to you, and because you have that character, they see you as somebody that can actually step up and be a leader and talk. Or, your work ethic with the way you're disciplined is going to lead to more than likely, I always ask this before anything, is what inspires you? Why are you here?
Right.
And if you have a reason to be there, whether it be family, whether it be for a financial, help at that moment, whether it be you just need more minutes, whether it be that you want to travel, okay, you have an inspiration, you have a good work ethic, you have good discipline, then now more than likely you're going to take that work ethic and it's going to feed on everybody else.
Sure.
They see you working.
Yeah.
And that potentially can lead you to being a leader at some point on the team. So there's a lot of stuff that plays in. I think that the biggest challenge that I've faced is, to win, you can have all the traits, but you do need the talent. And sometimes if you don't have the talent, you're just not going to win.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean you did something wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean that the guys didn't buy in, that you don't have a healthy locker room, that the guys feel their roles. If you don't have talent, it's not going to work.
It's kind of hard to balance. I suppose, where it's you have talent, and not everybody that's talented has bad attitudes, but it is out there. That is out there. It is tough, because as competitors you want to win, and you have to find that balance between developing the culture, like you talked about earlier, which is so important. You look at, in the context of the NBA, you look at the Spurs, you look at anybody that won multiple, to be honest, Lakers, Pistons, Celtics, whoever you want to go with, they all had a defined culture. Some were different, but they had that. There was a team concept, super talented players, but at other levels of basketball, internationally and what have you, speaking from our experience with the Aztecs, and I'm sure you could speak on this, but what is that? Where do you ever find yourself, or have you ever found yourself at a crossroads where you're like, you know what, the winning is more important, or the lesson, the lessons we're going to learn? Sometimes it's almost like you can maybe you can kind of see like a loss in the future, because you can see the attitude, not because we're not good enough, but we're in a sour place right now.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I have being a young coach. I spent a couple years in Mexico being an assistant coach, doing the video. So I really, for a long period of time, thought that was the most important thing. I felt like I was the boss in Mexico when it came to scouting. I love scouting, and I felt that I brought a lot of neat things to Mexico when it came to scouting. They didn't do a lot of it. That actually was led to giving me my first shot at representing the country, representing Mexico on the Mexican national team. Being in a major FIBA competition, the America's championship, winning gold for the first time. Mexico had never won gold. Well, hadn't won gold in 40 years.
Wow.
In a major international tournament. We beat Luis Scola in Argentina.
Wow.
We beat Puerto Rico and J.J. Barea and Ronaldo Bogman. We beat those guys in 2013, and I was a video coordinator and scout for the team.
Yeah.
So, I felt so proud. Like, the scouting is, this was huge. And it is.
Yeah.
But it's not the most important. I felt that transition, a couple years later when I moved from being an assistant to a head, how being a head coach is difficult, it's saturating, it's stressful, because I think one of the biggest keys to becoming a head coach is a lot of head coaches. The key for people to buy into you as a head coach is because they realize you care. They realize that you want to see people develop. They are selfless. They know how to sacrifice. And they spend every waking moment from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m., 3 a.m. the whole next day, almost 24 hours, not sleeping, focused on how do I make these guys better?
Yeah.
How am I going to make this team better? Because you as a coach can't win if your players aren't developing, aren't pushing themselves, aren't bringing the right things to the table.
Sure.
And ultimately, as a coach, what's going to define you? Sad story is, for a lot of closed-minded people and for organizations that maybe are only focused on winning and the money, your wins or losses.
Right.
But I never try to let that derail me from from the true reality of what truly is a coach. Is, how do you change a person's life? How do you get them to, 10 years later, yo, coach, what's up?
Yeah.
I heard you're in town. Come to a barbecue. I'll have one. Family's all here.
Yeah.
Excited to see you. Come through. Everybody kind of goes their own way.
Yeah.
But if you have a way to leave a lasting impact on a player, and Pop's a great example of that. And there's a lot of coaches have done it. I'm sure there's a lot of players that might have connected more with one coach than the other. But ultimately, they'll look back and say, I learned something from that coach.
Yes.
He taught me something. He directed me in a different path, or he redirected me right to where I needed to be, or he just gave me perspective, whatever it might be.
Sure.
And so I would say it's difficult as a coach because winning's important. I think winning is, of course, the ultimate prize to the work ethic and everything that you put into it. The sacrifice, the hard work, the headache, the moment's adversity, it all usually will lead to a win. But how do you go to find that win? It could be a win in a game, or it could be a win that you took a top-end team to the test and you had them in the last couple of minutes. You might have lost, but you had them. Are you going out of that locker room, leaving that locker room with your head high? You did the best job you could. That's, like I said, that's for me more important, and I think that it's going to always reflect to winning because you will be able to find your moments of glory, of championships, of getting to where you thought you could be and even farther. But can you at that point turn the page and get ready for the next one? That's how basketball and how the seasons go. Or are you going to get stuck on a big-time loss or a tough season and let that adversity bring you down, let that question your capabilities, question your authority maybe on the team or whether or not you were leaving that lasting impact.
Yeah.
And you've got to be confident about yourself as a coach, and I think that this relates to a player as well, that, no, I did the best shot I could.
Yeah. You kind of just touched on something right there that I'm kind of interested in. In high school and college, you usually play 1 to 2 games a week.
Mm-hmm.
So in the context of a loss, you have plenty of time as a team and individuals to dwell on that.
Mm-hmm.
And the next couple of days at practice is all we're going to talk about is what we did wrong and to correct it and move on. But in the professional world, you're playing more than that per week, multiple times per week. So when you lose, it's a different experience because you really quickly have to turn your head to the next game while still probably trying to draw from that experience and to correct it. Could you speak on, it happens in life. You might have a week of just nothing you touch is good. Yep. Everything is bad, but you got to keep moving. Yeah. Could you touch on that?
I think, one of the biggest things is we all have to realize that we live our lives through cycles. So we're going to have good moments. We're going to have bad moments. I've been coaching in Mazatlan, which is a team I've been with for the last 5 years. I'm blessed that they had the balls to give me a shot. Let's put it that way. Not a lot of teams, and I would buy into giving a 26-year-old the opportunity to coach a professional team. And at 27, that same year, I won a championship.
That's amazing.
So it was. You never know what can happen. I think that as long as you take the good moments and you don't put your head into the clouds, and you stay humble, you stay afloat, you stay with your feet on land. Then that's going to be the most healthiest thing. And then when you have those rough moments, that that there's a stability out there, you'll find it. Whether it be a friend, whether it be a coach, whether it be, just simply getting into a book and reading and trying to find direction.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever it takes for you to keep yourself stable, that's going to allow you to get over the hump in that tough moment. Mazatlan is a beach city. I love the city. It's
You've had
amazing.
some great Instagram pictures.
It's amazing. I've been so blessed that basketball took me there, and I always, when I have my moments to yourself, I want to just kind of relax and meditate over, the game or the team, or just want to just chill for a little bit, not even actually take my head off of basketball.
Yeah.
I'll go out to the beach, of course. Yeah. But I see these waves coming in and out, and it makes you realize that in life you're going to have those great moments, and boom, you're going to get hit by a low. And then there are moments where you think that you can't go any lower, that something's going to bring you back up. That's just the waves of life, and they're going to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. So you just have to see it from that standpoint, that maintain yourself stable. The team I won the championship with were the Náuticos with the Navy, and our logo was an anchor. And I've always loved the idea of an anchor because I actually brought a big old one and put it in the locker room.
Yeah.
Just to remind people, if you can stay balanced, feel stable, feel secure, feel protected, that's what that anchor represents. Because if we don't have the ability to stay balanced in our emotions, stay balanced in our habits, too many highs and lows lead to losing your mind. I tell my players all the time, because I'll get players that really want to do well, but they're overly emotional. And that leads to technical, so that lead to, losing concentration because you just hit a big shot and then now they had a leak out and they got that same 2 points right back. Whatever it might be, maintain control of your emotions. Do not let your emotions affect who you are. I think that emotions are quick to change. Live your life more with passion. Choose to play the game. Play it with passion. I coach with passion. I always push that for myself too, because that passion is consistent. If you know what your passion is, then it's not going to change. I love basketball today. I don't love it today. Now I love it today. I don't love it. No. No, I love basketball. That's my passion. So I have a constant in my life. I love my family. It's a constant. I love getting up and going and working out and just trying to take care of myself. It's a constant, and anything, eating healthy. I love eating healthy, and I try my best to do it. I haven't touched fast food or soda in a long-ass time. Why? Because that's my constant. And that also leads to healthy work habits, healthy life habits in general. So find your constant. Find your anchor.
Do you have any routines in your life? Are you talking about healthy eating and just the kind of the keeping a stable mindset? Are there routines in your life, or maybe not a routine, but when a challenge arises, kind of almost like getting back to the basics, or you go back to something to kind of recenter yourself? I
don't think I do anything out of the ordinary that I think a lot of us, go through in our daily lives. I love to read books. Eating healthy, working out's a great way. Just simple, chill meditation. And always a lot of big time sports organizations actually have people come and teach mindfulness and how you can use your abilities to control your mind, control your breathing, control your focus to just maintain good healthy habits and not let stress overtake you. I am a coach that has been hit by the stress bug. I care too much sometimes, so I have to learn to choose what I care most about. And I think that there's sometimes little situations in life that they can get you. But is it really that important? Is it something that you should dwell on? Is it something that should take your energy or your?
That can be tough.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we struggle as human beings on falling into the trap of caring too much about stuff that's really irrelevant. In life.
I hear you.
And finding a way to block it out. Finding a way just to realize I'm not going to ruin my day and make my day go from a proactive and productive day to just a day of dwelling and a day of sorrow and a day of frustration. No, I'm not going to do that. And I had to learn through my coaching, because there are moments when I really, really wanted to win. Perfect example, we lose game 2 of the finals in 2016 against a good Hermosillo team. Alfonso McKinney of the Golden State Warriors was on that team. And we lose it on the road, and this is my first shot at a championship. I care so much about that championship because my first job as a coach that after that game, I'm sitting there, I'm the one dwelling in the coach's office with my head down. And I had one of my assistants come in and say, hey, get your head up, no biggie. But the one that got me the most was when one of my players as well came up to me and say, Coach, they did their job. They won their first 2 games. Now we got to go get 3 at home. And we'll come back on the road, we'll get 1, and we'll win this thing. But they just did their job. We lost by 1 point. I thought I drew up a great play. Slipped through our player's hand on an awesome slip. It was a great fake screen to a slip. Left a wide open catch layup just to finish it. I thought that would have been the best player in the world. And it slipped through his hands, And I was like, I would have looked like genius. I was like, that was my Brad Stevens moment, and so I'm dwelling on it. And it made me think about it. That play, I did everything I could do. It was in my control. It wasn't in my control whether that ball was going to come slip out of his hands or not. Everything else was done. I went to that play, to that timeout with confidence. I wasn't shaky. I wasn't nervous. You would think in a finals game 2 with 2 seconds left, you got to catch that ball and you got to score that layup to win. We weren't going to go for a 3, make it easy. Get the 2-pointer, get the foul, something. But I was confident throughout that process that I was able to put that board without my hand shaking, being a first-year coach. So why am I shaking now in the locker room? Like, dang it, we'll let this slip. We ended up winning the next 4 games and won a championship. 1, 2, 3, 4, sweep, like that. And so.
How validating was that to win that series, being so early on in your career? That has, it's got to be
like I said,
pure joy.
it taught me how the tides can turn really quick, and they can turn in your favor real quick.
Yeah.
So when you think that you're at a tough moment, actually cherish that adversity, look it in the eye and say, you ain't going to bring me down. I'm ready for what's coming up next.
Yeah.
Because, that they got my head right back up. I was ready to go home. We get a convincing Game 3 win at home. Game 4 was tight, but we won 107-104. And I'm weird. I'm kind of like they say, like the Rams coach, McNay.
Yeah.
That I don't forget things. I don't forget things. I'm weird. I like some plays I don't forget, And so we get that win. Game 5 was tight too again, but we had a bench player. He hadn't played all series. We had some injuries. One of our players, Courtney Roberson, I remember got hurt. He was from Texas A&M, which is neat. I love getting guys from Texas. I love guys that are from this region. Try to get them down there. Yeah. Jeff Ledbetter, one of our players that was real important. They were locking him up. He just signed an Exhibit 10-day contract with the San Antonio Spurs and Austin Spurs. Another example of someone who took the experience in Mexico and used it to get where he wanted to go. He still had to pay that $100 for the local tryout. Yeah. But look, he went with the championship and the confidence. Yeah. And he's now been with the Spurs for the last couple of years. Wow. So I had a good group, and that allowed me to trust the guys that I developed. If I developed you all season long and I brought you guys together, I took you guys and allowed you guys become, have empathy between you guys, care about each other, have compassion for each other, really actually build a group. Yes. That just was unbreakable. Yeah. That's Game 2 wasn't going to break us. Right. We showed that. Even a tight Game 4, we got the win, didn't break us. Yeah. Most teams will break because they lose their heads in those high-pressure moments. Most people in high-pressure moments lose their heads, whether it be in a business or in a restaurant with too many, slammed for Thanksgiving dinner, whatever. Well, Thanksgiving you just eat at home, but, but you know what I'm saying. Like, we get hit by these heavy, stressful moments. But that's when I say the tides are going to turn at any moment. So just be ready for it, And even if it's a tide that that you might end up, getting let loose at your job because, they're making cutbacks and whatever not, that's when I would say tides are always going to turn at some point. For the good or for the bad, be prepared. What do you want? Where are you trying to go? Don't have sight, have vision. Don't see what's in front of you. See what's beyond your sight ahead. Yeah. Look way ahead. Yeah. What do you want? So, and be ready for anything that comes your way.
That's awesome. Wow, that's a lot. It's a lot to really ponder. Not really changing gears completely, but who has been the biggest inspiration for you as a coach from a coaching perspective? I know you worked for an extensive time in the Spurs organization. You mentioned James Borrego, who's now with the Charlotte Hornets. Who has been pivotal for your journey?
I think it's a variety of people. It really is, because I really opened up to listening to people and learning from the experiences from a lot of the people that they were in front of me at that time. They were the head coach and I was assistant, or people that I meet off on the side. Even a random get to know somebody at a restaurant and happen to have some really cool ideas. Just really listen to people is key, because you want to take up all the ideas. You want to see other people's perspectives. I think that one of the neat things about being a coach is you want to see and hear your players' perspectives too. Don't be a dictator coach. There's a lot of dictator coaches out there, and I know they mean very well, and I'm not saying that that's not a direction. If you want to coach and you feel comfortable in your own skin, just being more controlling, then by all means that's what you have to do. Coach the way you want to coach, how you want to feel. I've had a lot of coaches tell me that they say, you're not Popovich, don't copy him. Right. You're not. If you want to take some things that he did, learn from him and use them, great. Yeah. So I have, but then I've taken a few from this coach. Let's say I had a coach named Adolfo Sanchez, learned some stuff from him. I had a coach, Andy Stoglin, who coached in the G League and was in Mexico my first year, learned some stuff from him. One of the really important ones that I had is Eddie Casiano, who is the actual head coach for the Puerto Rican national team that just made the Final 16 in the FIBA World Cup. Yeah. Huge accomplishment for him. And he actually has a really neat story, because that's one thing that caught my eye when I started working with him, was that he in the 1990 was a 19-year-old playing on the Puerto Rican national team guarding Michael Jordan. Wow. And there's video on YouTube against the 92 Barcelona team, that dream team that, will always be the staple of USA basketball and the top of the top. Yeah. Well, he was a 19-year-old going up against him, no fear.
Yeah, yeah.
In 2004 in Athens, he was the player that hit the dagger for almost half court to eliminate the USA with that Tim Duncan, Iverson, Carmelo, LeBron, that squad.
Yes.
Puerto Rico, hit him in the mouth early, and he was one of the major figures of that team to do that. So his basketball journey was really neat. And his form, his style, I think I connect a lot with his style.
Yeah.
Confident, composed. It's like my mom says, you sometimes with those refs, you look like the most elegant talker I've ever seen. I said, I'm not really talking shit. I'm working their minds. But yeah, you just have to have the ability to be confident and just go out and coach. And you work with the refs a certain way, you work with players, but listen to them too.
Yeah.
Because if players don't feel like their coaches listen to them, then you can really easily lose your squad.
I think a lot of people in a position, I think, a coach is, he's the leader of the team. Mm-hmm. You can have player leaders, but the coach, we all got to follow the coach's, game plan. Mm-hmm. And I think people in those leadership type of positions, and I don't think they're wrong to feel it, but it's almost like, well, if I allow the whole group to voice their opinion, mm-hmm. right, mm-hmm. It's almost like I cede some of that authority or some of that platform, which it's human nature to feel that way. But how do you as a coach maintain that rule, that rule in the locker room or that authority you have while allowing people to still voice? Because, players and coaches, it's such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Because we're all in the same intimate setting within that basketball court. And what you can see as a coach can be very different from what a player experiences and feels.
Right.
And I don't think that either is wrong, or it's not about one being wrong versus right. But how do you allow that space, that safe space, for a player to voice themselves, allow them to feel like they're heard, while without you losing yourself as coach, and it's almost like you're kowtowing your players, and they get to say what's going on.
It's like I mentioned before, the balance. Have the balance. Don't be too much one way or the other. If you're a coach and you allow your players to do too much and allow them to take control, then when they need you most to set them up for success, they're not accustomed to it, and you're not confident with it. So don't go that route too much. But you do need to listen to them. They have great ideas. I've allowed players to put up a play on a board, and they do so respectfully, knowing not to step over their boundaries. But,
sure.
Coach, I got an idea. You've seen it with the Spurs. Manu drawing up a board, Tony drawing up a play, and we've seen it before. But then at the same time, knowing to hold your ground when you know and you see a certain thing. Sometimes on the court, players, you're in the action, you're in the competition, you're in the war. Sometimes you're not seeing things because things are going so fast.
Right.
They're so fast, so you might not see what a coach sees from the outside. But at the same time, coaches also at the same time, you have to understand what it feels like to be in the shoes of the player.
Yes.
So it's not so much about the play that you draw. You can draw up the most simplest, most basic thing in the world, but if that player believes in what you're doing, he sees it as gold. He's going to go rock with it. Or you can have the greatest player in the world, but if that player doesn't have any confidence in your abilities or doesn't have any confidence in who you are as a coach and the connection you have with that player, then your greatest player in the world doesn't mean shit because he's not going to run it. He's not even seeing it. He's got tunnel vision when he looks at that board. He's not hearing you.
Yep.
So it's really important that you have that balance. I think that it's not too much of a challenge having the whole team voice their opinions. Everybody has an opinion, and I think it's really important that you need to find time to get to connect with every single one of your players. But you have leaders and you have followers.
Yes.
So if you know who your leaders are, those are the most likely ones that are going to voice their opinions.
Sure.
Get to make sure you have that healthy relationship and the respect.
Yes.
To be able to have a good working environment with those players. The followers are going to follow.
Sure.
Backup point guard more likely is going to follow the starting point guard.
Sure.
So if you have some guys that are followers, don't lose them and don't lose their confidence.
Right.
Keep them involved. Keep them important. Make sure that they know that they have a role that's valuable to the team.
Yes.
And just nothing wrong with being a follower.
Right.
You can't have a bunch of leaders. You can. It would drive everybody nuts.
It's. I think it makes sense and it's understandable. Everybody, any athlete, I don't think it matters team sport or individual sport. Everybody wants to be the man or the woman.
But some, not necessarily. Some people don't want to be the man.
That's true.
Some people don't. Some people are comfortable being that low key, hardworking, quiet, do my job, go on to the next day, eat my dinner, talk with my family, go to sleep,
Yeah.
on to the next day. Some people like that.
What
So
would you
not
say
all.
to the player, let's say they're fresh from America and they're in whatever country abroad, and they're used to being the number one guy or even the number two guy on a team, but now they have to be maybe the seventh man, second guy off the bench, rather than the starting lineup. Can you speak to that, or have you ever had experience with that?
Sure. Lose the arrogance, lose the ego, adapt, find a way to connect, find your niche, find your role, and go play.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's simple. Especially first time. A lot of first time players will fizzle out early, or have a red flag on their resumes early because they're so used to being the man that when they have to be on a team, I'm 23 years old. I just left Division I NCAA. I played at North Texas. I played at North Texas. Now playing in Mexico, top league. But then, I got 3 national team players on my team. I've got a couple vets on my team.
Yep.
The starting point guard is Carlos Rivera, Puerto Rican national team, 36-year-old, and he's just a straight brain. Yeah, you're not the man anymore.
Yeah,
So learn from them. Learn from your teammates. Find ways to use their experiences and your coach's experiences to better your game at that moment. You're 23. You're not the man yet.
Right.
You're 24. You're not the man yet. You're 25. No. Maybe if you're Kevin Garnett or Kobe Bryant or one of those guys that made the NBA, then you're not the man. But even them, I guarantee you, they weren't the man on their team.
Kobe had to come off the bench year one.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I've always said that the prime age for a pro player is from 27 to 32, 33. During that 5 years, you're not only physically still capable of high performance, on the court, but at the same time, you're grown up. You're matured a little bit more. You've traveled. You've seen the world a little bit more. And maybe you haven't seen it before. Maybe you've just been in the States. But you've been around. You understand what it takes to sacrifice. You understand the work ethic you have to have. You understand that you can't be blowing all your money on dumb stuff. You need to actually start being ready to invest and do some other stuff in your life that's not just basketball.
Yes.
Have your backbone. Have your plan B. But when you're at that age, take advantage of what basketball is giving you. If it's giving you a good paycheck, it's giving you opportunity to get your name out there. That's going to lead to some type of job after you're 35, 36, and you might be a leadership, you might be a professor, you might be, you could even be a car salesman. But they know that you're going to have the ability to connect with people because you understand teamwork, you understand a lot of things that the game gives you. So, but while you're at that age, 27 to 32, take advantage of it because you're going to understand the game better. You've seen the pro life, you see the physicality. A lot of players come thinking that, no, it's not soft. I guarantee you'll get clothesline at some point, and can you keep your head and keep on playing, or you're going to lose your head and fall into those emotions that's going to give you an up and down game. So
you recently,
it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it is. You recently traveled to China for an international tournament. How do you see the differences in the game, whether it be in Asia? In Mexico, South America, Central America, here in the States. How was that tournament for you guys? Is it tough to play against a team from a different region on the globe because they often play different styles?
Oh no, there's definitely different styles from all over the place. Australians are always very dirty, very physical. They don't allow you to get anything. These are the boomers, and that leads to any tournament. I mean, the team that was in Australia, a team that represented Australia in our tournament in China, same way. And I've seen it. There's Serbians are usually going to be very physical, very good shooters, very organized. Spain is always going to be very, very organized, team oriented. They develop their athletes from a young age to buy into the team play and the ability to be active and moving in the way that they cut and curl and roll in the way that they just play the game. That ball's doesn't even touch the ground sometimes is amazing. That's why they're world champs. The Americans are always going to be very athletic from a one-on-one standpoint. Most of those guys can beat you off the dribble, can create their own shot. Can you be able to be an American player and adapt to another style? Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out. Mexico's very physical. We've had some success in some of the tournaments that I've been able to be a part of. This tournament in China in 2016, I was able to win it as well. And we beat teams that were more athletic than us because we were just more physical and basically said, if you're going to go and think you're going to get that dunk, no, you're not. You're going to earn it from the free throw line, or we're going to foul you hard on the ground. You got to take it out again. And you start getting scared about being multidimensional. You're so about using your athleticism, but can you use the ball in the game to create the easiest shot. So a lot of times American teams struggle with that. We saw a little bit of it even with the NBA guys.
Yes.
Mexico was able to defeat the G League USA team a couple months ago in an international tournament as well because of that ability.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of people don't talk about that game. Mexico beat the USA with the G League guys, but still they're G League guys.
They are
fringe NBA players that
yes.
might be there, but the ability to get through that contact and use the game, can you not? So it varies from different spots. The Asians are very quick, very fast, usually undersized, running gun, fast tempo, whether it be the Philippines, Japan, China. Even though China has a little bit more height and size, the amount of people they have, they should have a couple monsters over there, and they do. But it just varies. It varies.
Yeah.
But play your style. Play your style. Go with what makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
If you know you're an American team and athleticism allows you to win games, well, then you need to be pushing the ball. You need to be running the floor. You can't be lazy. Like I always tell my players, if you miss the bucket, F it. If you miss the bucket, F it. Get back on defense.
Yeah.
If you miss the layup, whatever. But push yourself. Challenge yourself. Don't waste a play or a possession because of frustrations or emotions. Play how you wanted to play. Play how you talked about pregame you wanted to play. Because sometimes we say something with pregame and then game time, we forget completely about it.
Yeah.
Control your style, control your pace. A lot of teams are pushing pace and space right now, and that's a great saying, not only just for style of play, but just what do you want? I said, what do you want? If you had good spacing, then you got a lot of room to work. How do you want to work it?
Yeah.
With the pass, with the dribble, with the driving kick, with the post up, whatever it is. Do it with confidence and do it knowing that if I didn't score today, what else did I do to help my team win? That's the most important thing. It's not about you all the time. You is going to come out whenever you win games, you get to where you want to be in a championship game. Now you might hit that big shot.
Yes.
You might be the guy that scored and carried the load for 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the game. In the last 10 minutes, you had a guy that you trusted all season long. He hit some big shots. You both the man.
Yep.
Because winning is about a team.
It is. As a coach, how important is it when you're looking at a player, you're forming your roster at the beginning of the season, how important is it if you have a player in front of you that they have a championship on their resume? I realize it may not be an ultimate deciding factor for a prerequisite, but does that carry weight from your perspective?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I want a ton of teams. I want a team full of champions.
Well, so let me. So I guess a little more specific. Like, let's say you got a guy. He's 6'8". He can give you 20 and 10 any night of the week. You've got a guy that is, I'll say 6'8" also, but maybe he averages 10 and 5 in the same minutes per game. But he's got 1 to 2 titles somewhere on the globe that he's earned along the way.
If you're a pro player, anybody can score. You've been doing it for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So if you're 25 and you've been playing since you were, Spurs, Pizza Hut camps or, YMCA clubs, you've been doing it for so long, you can score. Yeah. And if you can't score, then more than likely you might have some championships, but you set some pretty darn good screens. You got some big rebounds.
Right.
And so if you know that you're not a great scorer, you don't take away your own confidence that you can hit a shot or two when you need to, but you're satisfied on doing what winning takes. I don't care if a player scored 30, 40 points a game if he doesn't have winning on his resume. And I'm willing to try.
Yeah.
And that's when it's going to come down to our conversation as coach and player.
Sure.
What do you want? What are you trying to get?
Yeah.
You can tell me you want a championship, but do you really feel it?
Right.
That's the thing. Because I always tell players all the time, you can hear me, but do you feel me? Do you feel my word? Do you feel what I'm telling you? Do you feel the message that's getting across to you? And I'm going to give you that same love right back.
Right.
I don't want to just hear what you're telling me. I want to feel that you want a championship. I want to feel that you're tired of, that you're willing to sacrifice maybe 10 points a game if it leads to having other threats on the floor when you most need them.
Yep.
And I think that, there's players that can say Kobe was selfish. But I saw Kobe had some moments when he really goddamn needed Derek Fisher.
Yeah, I'll say
so. Or he needed Robert Horry.
Lamar
or he
Odom.
needed somebody to step up.
Yeah.
And you can go down the list of all the champions. At some point, somebody else big stepped up. It's really cool, this part, because I'll give you a perfect example, and I got to be his assistant on the Mexican national team, which in 2014 for the Central American Caribbean Games. Bill Cartwright.
Wow.
That's a good one. So if you want to go back to that question about somebody else that's helped mold you as a coach, old Bill, old big ass Bill, was somebody I got to work with, and I learned a lot from him. Tons from him, because just the experience he had. You know, he older guy, so he can't watch film for too long. He goes about to the third quarter, then he needs a break, and he's going to get a cigar, go sit out in the balcony, watch 2.5 Men for an episode or two, and then he'll come back to the scouting. But I mean, the experiences he had, you know, it wasn't about the scouting; it's about what he sees in people, and knowing that I wasn't the man. He wanted to be the man at times with Chicago.
Sure.
Michael was the man.
It's Michael's show.
It was Michael's show, you know, and there were moments when they needed John Paxson to hit a big shot.
Yeah.
And he did. Or, you know, B.J. Armstrong, whoever it was.
Yeah.
You know, Luke Longley had to get a big rebound. I mean, the list goes on and on about big players that come from players that knew how to sacrifice and knew what they needed to do as a role to win.
Yeah.
Because we can't have 12 scorers on a squad.
You can't, and if you think about Michael Jordan, think about Kobe Bryant, and they're famous for all the big shots they've hit. Mm-hmm. When you look at the championships, the games that matter that they win, or those series, those 6 and 7 game series that they were in so many times. You mentioned Derek Fisher, you mentioned Robert Horry, John Paxson, Steve Kerr. A lot of those iconic moments when the teams are celebrating are because one of those quote unquote role players came up big when they were needed and when they were ready. Or they were ready when they were needed.
If that ball is just touching your hands for those 24 seconds and only your hands, when you need that guy to step up and hit a big shot because you're getting trapped or you're in the wrong spot, you're in the coffin corner, you can't get that ball out, you have someone open, you can't get it to him, but when he does get in his hands, he hasn't touched the ball in 5-6 possessions. You think he's going to be comfortable with that ball? He's cold.
Yep.
And whether he's on the court and he's running, he might not be cold, but in regards to having to feel the touch, he doesn't have it.
Yep.
So if you're playing that game and that ball is not swinging and hitting everybody's hands, then not everybody's a threat.
Right.
If you're just running down, playing defense, and then taking a charge and getting back and doing it again and doing it again and doing it again, but you never touch the ball on offense, you know how frustrating that is for players.
Very.
A lot of players don't have egos about touching the ball. They want to feel involved and feel like they could be the next man and make the extra pass or make that assist, whatever it might be, but they need the ball in their hands to do it. It's not necessarily just to shoot the ball.
Very true. People want to contribute. They want to contribute. They want to feel like they matter.
Exactly. You know, and so if you're a pawn on the court for defense alone, that's it, and that's your role. Okay, but more likely you're still going to touch the ball at some point.
Sure.
You know, and Rodman could be a perfect example. He can have 0 points and 20 rebounds, but he still touches the ball in moments when he needs to.
Yes.
You know, and that means everybody's involved. Everybody's still a threat because all it takes is that one moment when defense falls asleep. Well, I caught that slip and I finished it, and that was a big bucket. And I got the N1 because I took the contact because I had the ball in my hand a couple of times, you know, and I could finish comfortably because it was in my hands a couple of times.
Yep.
So you know, I always tell we had this season in Mazatlan a stretch of games where we really our passes per possession was really low, and I put all 81 possessions I think on the board, and I showed our guys 1 pass, 2 pass, 2 pass, 1 pass, 3, 2, 1. But I said the percentage was bad. We weren't moving the ball much.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't mean that we're not trying to win, but we're trying to play checkers instead of chess.
Yep.
And everybody's heard that, but it's the reality to it. Learn how to play chess.
Yeah.
And chess means all the pawns got to be a threat.
Love that. As we kind of wind down here, you've had many experiences here in the States basketball-wise, abroad basketball-wise. You've run the gamut from being a ball boy for the NBA champion Spurs. You won championships in Mexico. You've made it to the brink in China. You have
won it once too. So hey, got one. This one was frustrating. But all right, we did well.
You've been around a lot of great minds, a lot of great athletes. What, from your experiences, do you have for a coach or somebody that is feeling like they're about to make that transition, maybe from a player to a coach, or they feel like coaching is on their horizon, but they don't know, what the next step is or what they need to do, or maybe they just need that push or that guidance. Do you have anything for them?
Well, one of the first things I always push a guy, there's a lot of actually master's programs that are opening up right now that are coaching education. I got mine from Xavier University up in Ohio. Great basketball program. Musketeers are always, in Elite Eight, and, it's a good program. Got a lot of opportunity to connect. And, I think a coaching degree are becoming so much more important year in, year out. I think just the athletic development culture is just booming right now.
Yes.
You see it from the way Lifetime is packed every day, and Lifetime Fit and LA Fitness, all these spots is because I think that we're realizing that the way our health, our body and our mind connect. If your mind's not there, your body's not going to follow. And a lot of times vice versa. If you're just tired as can be, you can't think your way through things. So,
sure.
It's really neat that side that you just really have to find a way to push yourself. If you want to be a coach, do it. Go get a degree. Go learn. Go meet some people. Go talk to some other coaches. Get perspective. Before you can learn to lead, you got to learn to listen. You can't just jump into the coaching hot seat and think that I'm going to be bossing everybody around.
Yeah.
At some point, someone's going to give you a big fat middle finger in your face.
Yeah.
And probably going to be a player. And he probably didn't mean wrong.
Yeah.
He probably just, made a dumb decision. But you could have instigated it.
Yeah.
It's honest truth. A lot of players feel that pressure on their coaches. They're like, man, he just doesn't listen to me, or he's just too he always on me, or you got to go out and see who you're working with. But before you can do that, you have to listen to them. So whether you're listening to your professors, listening to other coaches, or listening to your players, it's about listening. So don't think you're the man when you jump into the hot seat as being a head coach. It's very saturating. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult job. We see a lot of coaches having struggled with stress issues. Understand that what you're getting yourself into can be a huge blessing.
Yes.
But it also can define you as a personality of who you are. And I think that if you know how to go and be a coach that teaches positivity, that's energetic every day, connects everybody, goes out and wants to make practices, engaging and creative and go out, that also probably means that you're doing you. You're not copying anybody else. Use the resources. And the resources come from learning them through a process of maybe education, school, whatever it might be. Or if you just want to educate yourself and go on YouTube and study some stuff, read some books. There's tons of great books out there for coaches. It doesn't always have to be a basketball book. It can be a book from Vince Lombardi to whoever it might be. You can learn so much from a lot of different coaches. Go out and take advantage of the resources. I did that. I've been a bookworm for the longest time. I had an assistant coach that played 30 years pro ball, played on the Filipino national team. He's my best friend, and he's 58 years old. I'm 30, and he's still my best friend. It's a huge difference, but it's not about the age. It's the connection that we were able to make. He was a mega superstar in Mexico in the pro league. I think he holds a record, 77 points in a game.
Wow.
But it wasn't even about those 77 points. It's what he taught me as a coach. Having an assistant willing to sacrifice, he's a head coach in his own, sacrifice to come work with me because he's found a connection with me. He listened to me and said, hey, I want to go be a part of that. He played with Spurs coach Chip England in the Philippines. And Chip, I knew Chip, and I asked him, of an assistant coach that could be good for me? And he said, Jeff Moore, bring him. So it's been an amazing connection I've had with him. But see, he was a player. Yeah. So he spent 30 years pro ball. He knows how it feels to be in those sneakers.
Yeah.
I'm a book guy. So I study, I read, I'm a bookworm, I'm a nerd.
You complement each other.
We complement each other. And he's always told me that there's moments where you need a little bit more street than book. We call ourselves that. He's street, I'm book. He doesn't run a goddamn play. I'm all about Brad Stevens and some of his plays.
Yeah.
But there's moments where he says, give him the dang ball and ISO that. Open it up. Yeah. Let him take him.
Yeah.
Because he understands at that moment. Let's do it. That's that balance I talk about. It's not always about the plays I run.
Yeah.
You need to give that guy some confidence.
Interesting.
And there'll be moments where he tell me, like, you can actually have a team, which is so true, and we don't realize it. That off the court, they don't talk to each other. Everybody goes their own ways.
Sure.
But on the court, they have amazing chemistry. And then you can have a team that the guys are every day just hanging out and playing video games and goofing around with each other. But on the court, they are bitching and fighting and hitting each other every day. And you're like, wait, aren't y'all friends? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You would be surprised how chemistry and how each team is different. You have to adapt to it as a coach. Before you can learn to adapt, though, you have to learn about what other coaches have experienced and take their examples and test it on your side.
Okay.
Caleb Canales is an assistant coach for the New York Knicks. He always tells me, go with your gut feeling. I've called him a couple times and say, I got this issue with this player, and I don't know what to do. And what's your gut feeling? Go with it. That's advice. You don't need 30 minutes of advice from an NBA coach.
That's true.
Because it's true.
That is going with your gut is often it's good advice.
So you just gotta sometimes you just have to go with your gut, and that's where I mentioned it. It's for everybody. if you want to take that job and you want to be you're not sure if you can manage a restaurant and be the manager and take that pressure of every day, it being packed, what's your gut feeling? I'm not sure about it. Okay, keep on looking at your options.
Yeah.
Or if you see something, say, man, that'd be so cool to play in that Australian league. That'd be amazing. Being in Sydney, wow. I just am excited for it. Then what are you waiting for?
Right.
Go for it. Go with your gut feeling. Yeah. A lot of times with coaches, we get in situations where what do I put on the board? What do I put on the board?
Yeah.
It's not always about what you put on the board. It's how much those players see your confidence. If they see you confident with whatever you're doing, they're going to buy into it. They're going to listen to you. They're going to be locked in.
Yeah.
I do this all the time. I'm a pacer when I'm not on the bench, so I'm one side to the other all the time. But a lot of the reasons why I do that is I showcase to my players that I'm confident in my own skin.
Yeah.
I'm confident with the refs. I'm confident with the situations. I pace to see their confidence.
Yes.
Are they on the bench kind of like with their arms crossed, legs crossed? Are they engaged in the game? I'll go get a glass of water and I'll be watching just them. I'm not even watching the game. See who's really engaged in the game.
Who's ready.
Who's ready, who's not. And when I'm not seeing him, my assistant's telling me what he's seeing from my back end.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes on. But when a player sees you as a coach that's confident, I was 26 years old. My players didn't doubt me maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
Could have been. Maybe. I won't ever know, and they won't have to say whether they do or not. But most of the time they did because they saw the time I put into it. They saw the way I go to video sessions, the way I do scouting reports.
Yep.
They said, this man is goddamn prepped.
Yep.
So why aren't we going to believe in him? And a couple little tools that I might have gave them that helped better their game.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm feeling this coach. He's cool, man. He's young.
Ready to go.
He don't give me the time of day. He doesn't hang out with me off the court. He just always – I only see him in practicing games, but I also knew I had to put my line. But I do care.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we appreciate your time today. I know you have a lot on the horizon for you, and your journey is still moving forward. I'm very excited for you.
Appreciate
very
it.
excited for you, and it's fun to follow your journey. I love social media because it makes people accessible, and I really do, man. I love your Mazatlan photos.
They're always fun.
I live vicariously through your travels, definitely, and it was very cool of recent to see your trip to China. As somebody that loves basketball and loves travel, I think that I think sports in general can be an awesome conduit to traveling the world and seeing it, and I think it allows us to see other cultures and those cultures. And
who wouldn't want to go and play in 20 different countries and see 20 different cultures and learn and see? I mean, who wouldn't want?
Yeah.
I mean, there might be some people that don't. They like to be at home, but
that's true.
I think the majority of us love those experiences. So.
Absolutely.
And I've been blessed to have them. Yeah, I mean, like I say, everybody writes their own book. Everybody writes their own book, whether you actually physically write it or whether it's just from memory and it's in you. And I think that everybody likes a good story.
Yes.
So, listening and enjoying them. I'm actually in the process of writing one for myself too as well.
Awesome.
So hopefully I'll have it out at some point, at some point with some of my experiences, and the meaning for it is to always connect it not only just to basketball players and players that want to go and do big things in their lives, whether they be with hooping or with whatever comes ahead for them, coaching, just going out and writing your own story. It's actually kind of I'm gonna throw this in there real quick because it's kind of a neat analogy. I think is a great way to kind of close this out. Getting hit by a hard screen sucks.
Yes.
I'm sure all players have gotten clocked at some point in a hard screen.
Yes.
Sometimes they're communicated to you. Sometimes your teammate yelling at you, screen to the left, push. Or maybe they might not say shit, and that's when you get really clocked. And that's when you're real mad. Like, come on, man. Someone say something.
Yep.
That is actually what's going to be the title of the book I'm writing.
Okay.
So, Getting Over the Screen, it's called. It's really an analogy to life in general.
Yeah.
Because we all get hit by adversities, like all players in basketball, whether it be in high school, collegiate, or pro, get hit by screens.
Yes.
And you're going to get hit by one at some point.
It's inevitable.
It might be a soft screen. It might be a hard screen. You're going to get hit by them because it's the nature of the game, nature of the beast.
Yep.
And those same screens are analogies to life and adversities of life. You're always going to get hit by adversities.
Yes.
You know, whether it be in high school and the girl you like, they ain't messing with you, they don't like you, she's ignoring you. Whether you in college and you effed up on an exam and now you worried about your eligibility, or whether you in pro and you got fired from a job because you just couldn't produce, even though you meant well.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of stuff times adversities. Or you have a family member that passes away, or you got fired from a job. You're gonna get hit by a screen. Sometimes they're told maybe my grandma has cancer and she might pass away. That's a screen that's communicated to you. You know it's coming. Or backwards, you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes that happens. Can you get over the screen and get back into the fight, get back into the play of life?
That's deep.
Yeah, so it's a neat analogy. I think that it's something that means a lot to a lot of people. Yeah. Those that don't follow basketball but can understand the analogy of getting over the screen and fighting back, especially the guys that do know basketball. Yeah, get back into the play. Don't get hit by the screen and start whining and just slapping your hands on the side or staying on the ground. Get up and fight back. You know? Yeah. You see that screen coming, fight over that thing and get back and stop the ball. Yeah. Stop that guard.
Absolutely.
You know, so get back into the play of life. Get back in the play of the game.
That's awesome.
Keep on fighting. Keep on fighting for what you want. And you're going to probably have a pretty darn good game because you're really into that game.
That's true.
Like we all really into want to do well in our lives.
That's true. Well, I look forward to getting that book. That sounds great.
Get over the screen. Get over the screen. Fight back into the play of life.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story today.
Thank you.
And that'll conclude this episode of Unrestricted. This is head coach Eric Weissling. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate everybody for listening. And, what do you want? Go do you.
I love it. Awesome. All right. That's it. Unrestricted is produced by DJ Unprotected and Elliot Mills and is a production of Aztec Nation in partnership with Where Grinding Never Stops. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube so you don't miss out on weekly content released every Monday. And follow us on Instagram for behind-the-scenes content by searching @un_restricted.